Madam Speaker, I rise this afternoon to lead a special order alongside my colleagues from the Congressional Western Caucus to discuss important efforts to modernize one of our nation's bedrock conservation laws that has sorely grown outdated and ineffective. The Endangered Species Act was signed into law 47 years ago to protect and revitalize species of endangered or threatened animals and wildlife. Truly a worthy goal. Unfortunately, the ESA has earned a recovery rate of only about 3%, a staggering failure to protect the very species that it was intended to aid. And while it has failed to safeguard those species, the law has been used as a political spearhead for frivolous litigation that threatens private property rights, public land use decisions, local communities, and American jobs. Fortunately, there are ongoing efforts in the People's House here and within the White House to update and modernize the Endangered Species Act to better protect species, all while treating states, property owners, and local stakeholders as partners rather than obstacles to species conservation. The Western Caucus recently unveiled a package of 18 bills introduced by members across the rural West and beyond to strengthen the ESA. These bills reflect our intention to bring this arcane law into the 21st century, aiming to create a more comprehensive and streamlined approach to support species recovery while ensuring our communities are not burdened by overregulation and misleading data. This package includes my legislation, the Way Habitats Offsetting Locational Effects Act, to ensure all conservation measures are considered when federal decisions that impact ESA-listed species are being made. By establishing a process that considers the totality of conservation efforts, we can incentivize private investment in species recovery, streamline federal decision-making, and promote the comprehensive efforts of states, local communities, and tribes. We should not tie our hands when it comes to species recovery. Using the best available science, considering all ongoing conservation measures, streamlining the process for listing decisions, and empowering state and local efforts creates a comprehensive approach to advance species recovery and fulfills the true intent of the Endangered Species Act. With this package of bills, you will hear more from many of my colleagues in the Western Caucus. We are taking a very important step toward truly strengthening the ESA. The Trump administration has also unveiled improvements to the implementation of ESA regulations developed to increase transparency and effectiveness of the law. Secretary of Interior David Bernhardt has rightly focused on updating the administration of the ESA to target the areas where resources will do the most good, which of course are the direct, on-the-ground conservation measures. Much like legislation in the Western Caucus package that I and my colleagues have championed, the updates direct listing decisions to be based solely on the best science available, as well as commercial information. Only when sound science, not politics, determine conservation measures can we truly begin to turn the tide to achieve successes under the ESA. The revisions also establish greater certainty for timely decision-making by federal agencies and applicants, therefore providing streamlined actions and coordination for conservation efforts. With partners like President Trump, Interior Secretary Bernhardt, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Director Aurelia Skipwith, I believe we truly can reverse the abysmal track record currently set under the Endangered Species Act. Unfortunately, we are seeing efforts right here in the People's House to completely undermine and halt these important steps being taken by the administration. Our conversation this afternoon is quite timely, I believe, because tomorrow, the lead Democrat in the House Natural Resources Committee is marking up legislation to thwart the administration's rule to bring more transparency and modernization into the ESA. Why anyone would be proud of the status quo in which only 3% of the species that have been listed under this law have been recovered truly does baffle me. That 3% is quite the meager report card, so it's disappointing to see so many of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle advocate for the status quo. I would hope they join me and my colleagues who are working to strengthen this law in order to provide real results, not simply evoking political talking points aimed at appeasing litigious environmental groups. Mr. Speaker, like far too many regulations that come from our nation's capital, relying on top-down decisions from bureaucrats only serves to limit economic prosperity. These decisions have not only negatively impacted local communities, they have done close to nothing to recover and protect threatened animals and wildlife. I'm looking forward to partnering with many of my colleagues from the Western Caucus this afternoon to describe our efforts here in the People's House to finally modernize the Endangered Species Act, something that is far overdue for our wildlife, for our environment, and for all of our communities. So with that, Madam Speaker,